Hey guys, what's up? It's me, Thomas. Tonight we're back here with How to Be, and tonight, I hope you got a crucifix ready, because we got How to Be the King of Demons in the Pope's Exorcist. So I actually did look into it. Apparently this is one of the newer voices in it. You'll hear in a minute. I'm guessing the original guy couldn't do them all the time, so I guess he hired this guy to give his voice a break, without having to go to How to Be an Anime, I guess. So, without further ado, be sure to like, subscribe for more. Hope you enjoy. Let's go!
If you were battling for the fate of the world against the mind-controlling master of hell, what would you do? This demon has been buried by the church for centuries, and now he's ready to return for round 2. He knows all your dirty secrets, and I'm here to break down the mistakes made, what you should do, and how to beat Asmodeus, the king of demons, in The Pope's Exorcist.
Here we go.
This extreme home makeover is about to turn into this family's worst nightmare. Late one night in summer 1987, the Vatican's version of the Doomslayer, Father Gabriel Amorath, rides his scooter to a farmhouse where a young man is said to be possessed by a demon. He takes his briefcase and walks past a crowd of concerned onlookers and a farmer with a huge pig into the family home. The local priest introduces him to the man's family, explaining that they've tried to get help from several doctors, but so far nothing has worked. Gabriel tells them
I guess that's usually the first clue.
And the family leaves the house as he prepares to get to work. In the next room, the young man lies on the bed screaming and contorting his body in unnatural ways. Gabriel crosses opens his briefcase, and the man tells him that he is Satan himself. The father expresses doubt, getting a serious rise out of the man before holding up a Saint Benedict medal inscribed with the Latin phrase, "Begone Satan," to his head. The man stares at the medal, and Gabriel asks the demon why it possessed this innocent boy instead of someone more powerful. The demon responds that it can possess anyone it wants, and Gabriel has the farmer bring the pig into the room, challenging the demon to prove its power by possessing the animal. The man
I think I see what's going on.
Before falling to the bed, and the farmer blows the pig's brains out with a shotgun. Gabriel embraces the man and tells him that the demon is finally gone. 1 month later.
That's actually a good strategy. Tempt the demon to possess something you could just easily kill. So let's be real. If that was really Satan, I don't think he would have gotten tricked by that. But gotta move the pot somehow. Anyway.
An American family arrives at an abbey in Spain that they've inherited and started renovating after the untimely death of their father. They head inside, and the mother, Julia, introduces herself to the contractors and local priest, Father Thomas Escobel. He thanks them for restoring the abbey and offers his help if there's anything that they need. Upstairs, the family's oldest kid, Amy, starts brushing her teeth when she hears a knock from somewhere out of sight. She looks around the room but sees nothing, never noticing a demonic face appearing in the doorway right behind her. Sorry for the interruption, but I wanted to break in and give everyone a heads up about a great new deal from our partners over
Magic
at
Spoon.
Magic Spoon. Now,
I'm just gonna let this play out because, you know,
high-quality
give it a minute.
breakfast is crucial to having the energy to tackle
I think he's our new guy too.
come your way, whether you're running from a murderer or just living life like a regular person. And with Magic Spoon's delicious and simple cereal, you'll be fueling up in style. Magic Spoon's cereal is high in protein and 0 grams of sugar. Their team of experts have created delicious flavors like cocoa, fruity, and cinnamon roll to satisfy your taste buds. Personally, I'm a huge fan of cocoa and have been looking to add more protein into my diet in order to be better equipped to survive any situation like we outlined in the videos we show you every week. 0 grams of sugar, 13 to 14 grams of protein, and 4 to 5 net grams of carbs in each serving. That's only 140 calories per serving, keto-friendly, gluten-free, and soy-free. Click the link below to try a variety pack today, and be sure to use the promo code HTB at checkout to get $5 off any order, or go to magicspoon.com/HTB. Hearing the knock again, she opens the door, but it's just her younger brother Henry, and she kicks
Where did he get the mask?
Henry walks around the abbey listening to music, and eventually makes his way down into the tunnels beneath the building. But that was his worst mistake. He hears a demonic whispering that lures him to a hole in the wall, and peers through to see a strange seal in the stone, with mysterious cracks starting to appear. Upstairs, the
Yeah, that's
mom
a cue to gotta
asks
back up.
Amy to keep an eye on her brother, saying that she needs her help looking after him while they fix up the Abbey. Aggravated at having to play babysitter, she gives her mom the finger and lays back down to listen to her music.
Boy.
Back in Rome,
He's gonna regret
Gabriel
that.
and his friend Bishop Lumumba arrive at the Vatican, where he's been summoned to attend a formal hearing about his exorcism practices. They grill him on his recent stunt at the farmhouse, but he argues that he never performed an exorcism there, instead saying that the boy was temporarily psychotic, and he simply put on a show to snap him out of it. Gabriel asks them what the hearing is really about, and they explain that they want him to retire from his position as the chief exorcist. He says that
Really?
he answers only to the Pope, and tells them that if they have a problem, to take it up with his boss before walking out of the room.
Damn.
Okay, these guys think that they can push him around, but they just found out the hard way that Father Gabriel is a loose cannon priest who doesn't play by the rules. That whole first
boy.
scene was actually a reference to a story from the Bible where Jesus meets a man who's been possessed by an army of demons and frees him by casting the evil spirits into a nearby herd of pigs, which proceed to run straight off a cliff to drown in the sea. In case you missed it,
Okay.
Gabriel just pointed out that the guy back at the farmhouse was never actually possessed in the first place. He was just a regular old, mentally disturbed dude who was fighting his own demons in a more metaphorical sense. If that's the case, was it
Fair.
really necessary to kill the pig like that? I mean, it says right in the 10 Commandments
Well, I'm
that
pretty sure
you
that's for
shall not
humans,
kill,
but-
so I don't know if the big man upstairs is going to approve of this one. I hope he was next up on the list to become bacon, because if not, that's just cruel. From a purely practical sense, a good quality pig like that can be worth hundreds or even thousands of dollars. I would have told the guy that his demons were in the pig, and we took it outside and shot it, but really just sold him off to live at another farm, with our psychotic friend being none the wiser. He thinks that he's cured. Pumbaa gets to keep on rolling in the mud and doing whatever the hell else pigs do, and the family even makes a couple bucks out of the whole thing. I might even charge people to come see the demonically possessed pig, like a carnival sideshow. Now, circling back to our family of house flippers,
I mean, I'll give him credit. That stunt would actually work, I think. If it was like someone's trapped in their mind, you gotta train. I think Adam Savage said it best. I reject your reality and substitute my own. So I think that's actually a good way. Like, play along, but do a narrative that frees him from his so-called demons. So you gotta give the priest credit. Good call. But again, I'm not a priest, so I can't say for certain, but anyway, back to the family.
it seems like their fixer-upper came with something sinister hidden in the basement. An abandoned monastery is no place to be bringing your emotionally disturbed kids, especially while it's in the middle of massive restorations. Even if they don't accidentally release ancient evil, the constant construction will make the place very dangerous for an unattended preteen.
Yeah, especially in the
They even
catacombs.
need to be staying there. I don't know what Julia does for a job, but unless she's a construction foreman, she's not going to be very much help to the contractors trying to work on the place. She might be thinking that a trip to Spain will help get her kids their mind off of their father's tragic death. But if that's what she was going for, then I would have suggested staying at a hotel in the city, not a creepy old abbey in the middle of nowhere that practically screams free demonic possession in every room. I would have stayed back in the States and let the kids have a normal summer while I checked in with the construction workers over the phone. Little Henry doesn't
probably
make
for
it
the
2
best.
hours before he goes off wandering around and finds a demon pit. Smart Money says this kid just got possessed on day 1 of the trip, and the family's vacation from hell is about to begin. Back at the Abbey,
that's
Julia
easy
is
enough.
looking over some paperwork when she hears a strange noise from somewhere in the darkness. Going to investigate, she notices that the place is freezing cold, but sees nobody there. She goes to Henry's room and finds him asleep in bed with loud music blasting in his headphones, and takes them off before giving him a kiss on the forehead and going back to her room. As she leaves, the boy's eyes shoot open, indicating that something about him isn't quite right. Down in the basement, a couple of construction workers notice the mysterious hole in the wall. One of them lights a flare, not noticing that gas is leaking through, and suddenly the whole place ignites in flames. Outside, the manager says that they can't continue continue working while there's a gas leak and immediately pulls his team off of the job. Upstairs in the
Probably
bedroom,
for the best.
Henry begins shaking uncontrollably, and Amy screams for their mom. Julia runs to help him, but the boy suddenly sits up in bed, telling them that they're all going to die before scratching at his face with his fingernails. They take Henry to the hospital, but after running several tests, the doctor confirms that his vitals and his brain functions are all normal. They ask if he's experienced any trauma recently, and Julia explains that he watched his father die in a car crash after being impaled through the head by a tree branch. Thinking that would be enough to mess any kid up, the doctors suggest that he could be experiencing temporary psychosis and recommend that Julia reach out to a psychiatrist, giving her a box of sedatives in case he tries to hurt himself again. Back at the Abbey, Julia tries to contact a specialist while Amy takes care of her brother. She goes to the freezer to get some ice cubes when suddenly the power goes out and Henry sits up in bed. Amy heads to the basement to flip the breaker switch, while Julia tries to comfort her son. Out of nowhere, he grabs his mom's chest and starts to taunt her in a demonic voice, before pushing her away and pulling up his shirt to reveal the word hate scratched into his stomach, growling at them and demanding that they bring him the priest. They call Father Tomas, but as soon as he enters the room, the demon flings him back out. Apparently, this is not
wrong
the
priest
he's looking for. Meanwhile, Gabriel goes to visit the Pope, and he tells them that there's a special case that needs his attention. He explains to him what's been going on in Spain, and warns him that the boy's possession is growing extremely fast. The Pope senses a great evil coming from the Abbey, and sends Gabriel to get to the bottom of things before it's too late. Gabriel rides his scooter all the way to Spain, and shows up at the house looking drippier than a leaky faucet. He wanders into the overgrown garden to have a look around, and Father Tomas comes out to greet him. He recognizes Gabriel from his writing and brings him inside to meet the family. Gabriel introduces himself, and Julia questions why the church is even interested in their case. He points out that the doctors haven't given them any answers, and asks her to let him give his opinion before she decides what to do next. Amy says that it's worth a
correct me if I'm wrong, but don't the church usually go through, like, different, like, steps to figure out what's going on before they claim, yep, demon? Then again, demonic voice, bring me the priest. And then chucking a priest out? Fair, but still. Actually, now I think about it, the fact that he just, like, I don't know, like, I don't know if he left and then got back to bed, but definitely a good shove. But yeah, if I see him, like, psychically throw him out, I'd be like, yep, time to call a priest. Anyway.
Shot, and the mom finally agrees to let him see Harry, leading him upstairs to his room. Gabriel enters the room alone, asking Henry if he's awake, but getting no response. He sets down his briefcase and takes out his medal before pulling up a chair and starting to pray. Suddenly, the boy's eyes open, looking extremely possessed. He shouts at Gabriel that his prayers are worthless, and the father holds the medal up to him, causing his true demon eyes to appear. Gabriel asks the demon why he's taken the boy, and reveals that his true goal is to possess the father himself. He tells the demon that he has no power over God, but the creature makes a crucifix fall off the wall, taunting Gabriel and saying that he doesn't know who he's dealing with. Gabriel challenges him to speak his name, but the demon won't fall for it, and reveals that he knows more about the father's history than he thinks, including that he played dead during World War II to avoid being killed by a German platoon. Suddenly, the boy starts to choke as his throat swells up, and he spits out a dead cardinal onto the bed. Realizing that this one won't be easy, Gabriel crosses himself and leaves the room, with the demon taunting him as he goes. Okay, Gabriel might be in over his head on this one, but when you're the Pope's personal demon slayer, and your usual methods aren't working, who do you call for backup? The Ghostbusters? First of all, it's incredibly unsafe to be staying in the place now that they know it has a massive gas leak in the basement. One spark or carelessly smoked cigarette and boom, the whole family is toast. I'd be packing my bags and staying at a hotel until we could have a professional come clear the place out. Now, as soon as Henry started to scratch off his own face, I would have skipped the doctor's office and going straight to breaking out the crucifix. The kids never had these kind of episodes before, but he's so emotionally disturbed, and they just moved into an abandoned monastery. So, to me, it's already obvious that the demons got him. The one useful thing that they got from their hospital trip was a box of sedatives to knock him out if he starts acting crazy again. When he started speaking in a demonic voice and scratching mean words into his own stomach, I would have hit him with a dose of the sleepy juice and tied him up to the bed right away, and the priest could get a look at him without being thrown across the hallway. While we're waiting for Father Gabriel to show up, I would have taken the other priest and had a good look around the property to see what I could find out. Having the priest to back me up should help to protect me from becoming possessed myself, and if we found anything suspicious, his knowledge of these types of things would be very helpful. Plus, he'd make a great meat shield if the situation took a turn for the worst.
Ouch.
The most likely place for evil spirits to be lurking is
always in the basement,
tunnels under the abbey, so that would have been the first place I went to check out. I wouldn't have had to look far before we found a hole in the wall with the hidden passageway behind it, and just like that, we'd have found the source of our problem. The priest could give me some more insight into what exactly I was looking at, and said some prayers and threw some holy water at it. Then, when Gabriel eventually got there, we could let him know that there's a hidden room in the basement where the demons might be coming from, and he could go check it out if he thought that it was important to the case. Gabriel may be a
Yeah, that's actually a good point. When you're dealing with demonic possessions, always get a lay of the land, so you know, like, okay, so there's the source, there's how we could figure it out. Like, as soon as I get thrown back, I'm like, okay, that hurt. Okay, I think I'm too injured. No, I mean, if I didn't have glass sticking out of my back, I could have been like, okay, I'm gonna go look around and make sure there's something going on. Now, do you remember where your son was going? No? Oh boy. Okay. I'll check the place top to bottom and see what happened. Also, I think the gas leak would have been a good idea, since, you know, I'm guessing with the gas leak, it was just to get everyone else out of the house. Again, this is just for me, but that's where my first bet would be. Down there, since, you know, boom. Anyway.
But it looks
like the most dangerous place.
Out for him with this one, and we'll have to see if he can rescue Henry before it's too late. Out in the hallway, Gabriel tells Tomas that the boy said things that he couldn't know unless he was truly possessed. He says that he needs to speak to Julia and find out why the demon chose her son. Gabriel explains to the mom that her son is possessed by a very powerful demon, telling her that trying to take him out of the abbey could be fatal, and the only way to get him back now is through faith.
I mean, fair, holy place, why not?
Happened to the boy, and Julia tells him about the car crash. Gabriel points out that severe trauma can be a gateway for evil spirits, but if she loves her son and prays for him, then there's still a chance to save his life. Upstairs, Amy is alone listening to her music when she hears several strange knocks on the wall. She goes to check on her brother, but he growls at her and says that he's in hell, sending her running back to her room in fear. She slams the bedroom door shut when suddenly the phone rings, answering it only to hear her dead dad's voice on the other end telling her that they're all going to die. Amy freaks out and runs to tell her mom and Gabriel what just happened. They ask the father what they should do.
Yeah, and that's a cue. Make sure to never separate, you know?
To work. Gabriel goes back to the boys' room and prays outside the door, while Tomas asks him about his plan. He says they need to figure out the demon's name in order to exorcise it, and they'll do this by torturing it with constant prayer. Gabriel tells Tomas that he must confess his sins, otherwise the demon will use them against him. But Thomas admits that he hasn't been to confession in 8 months. Not having the time to listen to 8 months worth of confessions, Gabriel absolves him of his sins and tells him that he's forgiven. He asks Tomas what exorcism rites he knows, but he replies that he doesn't know any since he never had to perform one. Instead, Gabriel tells him to recite the Hail Mary and not to engage with the demon no matter what happens. With their plan laid out, the men get ready.
I'd probably be just putting in headphones to drown it out.
The demon starts to taunt them relentlessly. Ignoring him, Gabriel begins the exorcism as the child flails around in pain. Suddenly, the lights go out, and Gabriel is confronted by the memory of a young woman named Rosaria, who took her own life after he determined that she wasn't possessed, and turned her over to the care of medical professionals. He reminds himself that she's not really there, the woman falling to the bed and morphing back into the boy, but the experience leaves him shaken. Turning its attention to Tomas, the demon shames him for pursuing a relationship with a young woman named Adela, which goes against his moral duties as a priest, causing him to lose his cool and start choking the kid out.
Tomas, what are you doing?
Simpson. Gabriel pulls him
Jesus,
off,
dude.
They go back out to the hallway.
Okay, we need it.
with the
Yeah.
demon taunting him for taking the bait as he leaves. Okay,
Whoops.
it looks like Henry isn't the only one fighting his demons. I guess
Yeah,
Tomas
we all
and
are.
Gabriel thought that they could keep their extracurricular activities a secret, but this
Nope.
fiend exposed both of them like it was reading straight from their search history. With time being so crucial, they can't afford to be losing rounds here. Every time they need to regroup, the demon will just become more confident and powerful, so they would have been better off not going in there until they were sure they were ready to finish things. Here's what I would have done differently. For starters, since Gabriel knows that the demon will use their sins against them, they should have both made a real confession before going in. Now, they've got no time to waste, so I wouldn't be sitting there to listen to 8 months worth of sins from Tomas either, but it would have been smart to at least cover the big ones instead of just glossing over it like they did. Both of these guys shouldn't have to think very hard about the number one thing that's eating away at their conscience, and they should have quickly confessed these deep dark secrets to each other so that the demon wouldn't have been able to turn the tables so easily. I might even call up the nearest prison and have them bring me their most hardened criminal, properly restrained with a full police escort, of course. With a real bad guy in the room, the massive amount of sins he's probably committed might overwhelm the demon and distract him from mine, providing us with a nice spiritual shield to concentrate all of the bad vibes in his direction. Who knows?
That actually might be a good idea.
So drawn to the other evil spirit that it would give its plan up and decide to jump into the prisoner instead. Then it would be the police's problem to deal with, and I could head home for a nice bowl of spaghetti and meatballs. With their conscience
That or
clear,
maybe
next
the
thing I would have
earlier
done is
stuff.
chosen a more
That work.
strategic battleground. The Catholic Church specifically says never to perform an exorcism in the afflicted person's home if you can help it, instead suggesting that you take them to a chapel where God's influence is the strongest. For him being such an expert, this is kind of a big oversight by Gabriel here. Every monastery has a chapel somewhere on the premises where the monks go to pray, so I would have hit Henry with some of the sedative and then moved him down there before we got started. It's always good to have home field advantage, especially when you're fighting off demonic possession. Now, since we're trying to get through to the boy behind the demon, I would have taken steps to remind him of who he really is, to help his spirit start to fight back. Since he seems to be very attached to his music, I would have put his headphones on him with his favorite songs playing, which would hopefully confuse the demon and start to bring the real Henry back to the surface. I would have also made sure that his mom and his sister were in the room, since seeing them and hearing them calling to him should help him push the evil spirit out. I'd roll a TV in there and put on his favorite show, bring some pizza and chicken nuggets, and even hook him up with a Nintendo and some games, pulling out all the stops to try and snap him out of it. If we really got desperate, there's one last thing that I would have tried. Gabriel says that the most critical part of an exorcism is figuring out the demon's name. Since the spirit isn't willing to hand over his driver's license for identification, I would have just gotten out the old demonic encyclopedia and started spitting. One of the most famous books on demonology, The Lesser Key of Solomon, lists a total of 72 demons by name. The average person can read 183 words per minute out loud, so I could run through the whole list of the top evil spirits in less time than it takes to heat up a pot of rigatoni. I'd just start reading off names and keeping an eye on him, and watching for a break in his confidence when I hit the right one. Just like that, we've got our name, and I'd be sending this demon packing without hardly breaking a sweat. Gabriel and Tomas need to get their act together fast.
Yeah, fast.
And we'll have to see if they can get to the bottom of things before the hellspawn completely takes over. Thomas...
Yeah, honestly, the whole bringing in a bigger sinner so that it could, like, go for it, you know, police escort and all. But I want to make sure that the officers also had a, like, confession, you know? That way, they don't get targeted and accidentally let the prisoner go, or they pull the gun, bang, bang, you know? Bad idea. Nope. Just saying, gotta take some precautions, too. Also, yeah, I wouldn't have gone in there until I know one was ready. You know, gotta prepare for these types of things. But I guess that first joint was to see how powerful this demon was, so they went in, you know, going blind, but guess it didn't work. Anyway.
Sits down on the steps and starts to cry, and Gabriel comes to confront him. He explains that Adela was the love of his life and wanted him to leave the priesthood so they could be together, but he turned her down before things went too far. Gabriel forgives him for his sins, and Thomas composes himself. He asks Gabriel about Rosaria, and the father explains that she was a girl he should have helped, and that the demon is using her memory to mess with his head. He hands Thomas a Latin prayer book and tells him to learn a particular section for their next fight. Suddenly, he realizes that the demon is after more than just the boy, saying that he needs to check on something and ordering Thomas to stand guard outside of the door and protect the child at all costs. Gabriel goes to the garden and pulls some vines from the top of a well, revealing that the lid is marked with the seal of the Vatican before tying a rope to the back of his scooter and pulling it off. Peering
Wait,
down
are you sure
into
that's a good idea?
darkness, he sees that the walls are lined with human skulls. He
Ugh.
drops a flaming rag in to get a better look, but it ignites the gas, causing a huge explosion that he dodges just in time. Meanwhile, the demon begins attacking every member of the family. Julia lays alone in bed when the crucifix on her wall flips upside down, and a man's arm reaches over and grabs her. She wakes up and screams in horror, but the hand covers her mouth and pulls her down, sucking her into the bed. Amy cowers under the sheets when an unseen force flings her across her bedroom. She runs to hide in the closet, with the demon banging on the door, tearing at the walls with an invisible claw, and shattering the light bulb, plunging her into darkness. While all of this is going on, Thomas goes to check on Henry and finds him lying quietly in bed. He leans in closer, and suddenly the boy lunges at him and bites part of his ear off, growling and laughing in his face as he retreats back into the hallway. Gabriel comes running in and finds Thomas looking like he's just been in a boxing match with Mike Tyson. They hear a scream from Julia's room and run to help her, pulling her up out of the bed just in time. Next, they run to Amy's room, and Gabriel kicks the closet door down, finding her inside being manhandled by the demon. He crosses himself and starts to pray, scaring the evil spirit off for now. Thomas investigates the closet and finds a piece of the girl's fingernail in the wall, and Gabriel tells him to take the woman to the chapel. Okay,
now you go
to the chapel. Never seen a horror movie before? Whether you're dealing with a demon or any other type of gabagool, everyone knows that rule number 1 is to never split up. Gabriel needs to go around and check the place out, but instead of letting Julia and Amy go to their separate rooms to try and catch some Z's, I would have made sure that they stuck close to Tomas, since he's their best protection against the forces of evil. They're lucky that Gabriel showed up in time. Otherwise, it looks like they would have all ended up as Demon Chow. It looks like the demon is starting to take on other physical forms besides just manipulating the boy. And trust me, I've been waiting to say this, but it's time to break out that shotgun. Now, we could have just taken the kid out hours ago and called it a day, but he's an innocent boy, and the whole point of this exorcism is
we're supposed to save his soul.
So unfortunately, my favorite demon slaying method wouldn't have done us any good. Now that it's growing hairy man arms and pulling people into the bed like Freddy Krueger, we can start blasting, or chainsawing if that's more your thing. My preferred method would have been some double-barrel buckshot, but if they don't have a boomstick laying around, any old construction tools should do the trick. Whatever they have at their disposal, it's time to arm up and stick together and get ready to exercise extreme violence on any form this demon takes outside of Henry. Taking cover in the chapel is definitely their best bet for now. Although, I would have set the place up with more anti-demon defenses before I got too
line of salt, some crosses,
you better ward off the demon in case it comes back, and have him spread some holy water around the room and bless this place if he thought that was a good idea. I'd also ask him for a sacred necklace or something like that to wear for some added protection. The demon is clearly becoming more powerful with every second, and time is running out, but Gabriel isn't planning to go down without a fight. The women lie down to get some rest while Gabriel and Thomas regroup. Gabriel points out that the demon is causing all sort of chaos to distract them from its true plan. He shows Tomas a skull from the well and tells him to follow him out into the garden so he can show him what he found. The men go to the well and shine a flashlight to the bottom, illuminating the seal of the Spanish Inquisition in the stone below, which Gabriel points out was the darkest time in the history of the church. He says that something must be hidden beneath the abbey as they descend down into the tunnels to find out exactly what
Finally, they're going down there.
They come to the hole in the wall that Henry discovered earlier and break the stones away, revealing a stone doorway engraved with the seal of the Vatican. Gabriel tells Tomas to stand back and lays into the wall with his sledgehammer, opening up a hole that's big enough for them to fit through and pushing his way inside. Looking around, the men find themselves in an ancient catacomb with a skeleton in a metal cage ominously placed in the middle of the cave. Gabriel notices that the body is wearing the ring of the Cardinal Protector and realizes that when his exorcism failed, the man was put in the cage for his own safety in an attempt to bury the demon below the abbey forever. Tomas tries to open a gate that leads deeper into the cave, but he can't get it unlocked, and Gabriel says that the dead man must be hiding a key. He searches the body, eventually busting open the man's stomach and pulling the key out from within. They open the gate and head down into the tunnels below to see what they can find. Meanwhile, back at the Vatican, the Pope reads over a note he found in a book about the Abbey and realizes that Gabriel is in mortal danger. He falls to the ground, clutching his chest, and the other scholars rush him to the hospital. Julia wakes up in the chapel but sees that Amy is gone. She grabs a needle full of the sedatives that the doctors gave her and goes upstairs, finding the kids sitting on Henry's bed. They start to speak at the same time, indicating that Amy is now possessed too. Julia grabs her away, but the demon flings her across the room into a wall and starts to choke both of them. At the last second, he drops them both to the ground, and Amy grabs the syringe, plunging it into Henry's neck and knocking him out before they tie him to the bed with the sheets. Gabriel,
it's about time you did that.
Deeper into the depths.
Pretty sure they did that first thing in The Exorcist.
To an evil-looking ritual chamber. A corpse sits on a throne in the middle of the room, and Gabriel realizes that it's the body of Frere Diogia, one of the most powerful exorcists of all time, but also the madman who convinced the Queen to start the Spanish Inquisition. He finds a journal on the body and reads that the man was summoned to exorcise an extremely powerful demon many centuries ago. The friar became possessed himself, which led him to committing such horrific acts under the influence of the devil. Gabriel realizes that the church must have buried him here. Searching through the book, Gabriel finally finds the demon's name, the King of Hell, Asmodeus. Armed with this knowledge, Gabriel says that they have what they need to defeat the demon, but he needs to make a confession one more time before the final showdown. He tells Tomas that he still feels guilty for not doing everything he could to save Rosaria, but Thomas absolves him of his sins, and with his burden released, Gabriel gets ready to fight. Okay, didn't I just tell these idiots to stick together? Not even 5 minutes has gone by since they almost got killed, and Gabriel and Tomas decided it was a good idea to go Indiana Jonesing in the basement while leaving Julia and Amy out sitting like ducks. If they were going to stay behind, the girls should have at least taken turns standing guard while the other got some rest. That way, Amy wouldn't have had a chance to sneak off and go play a game of patty cake with the Prince of Darkness. She's clearly been possessed herself, and even though she seems okay right now, you have to know that this is going to come back and bite them when they least expect it. If I were Julia, I would have done the hard thing and hit Amy with some of the sedatives when her back was turned and restrained her too. That way, she couldn't get the jump on me when the demon inevitably took her over. The only thing worse than one demonically possessed
we got two now.
Is two of them, and they better get their act together before the whole family ends up under its control. With the discovery of the friar's journal, we now know that the evil spirit's name is Asmodeus, a king of demons. That's the last piece of the puzzle, and now Gabriel and Tomas have everything they need to finish the fight. But it could be helpful to know a bit more about what they're up against before heading into the final showdown. According to the Lesser Key of Solomon, Asmodeus is one of the most powerful demons in all of hell and commands 72 legions of evil spirits. He was once defeated by the archangel Raphael, who instructed a mortal man, Tobias, to burn a fish liver on a set of coals, which repelled and weakened the demon and eventually allowed Raphael to banish him into the Egyptian desert and bind him to a rock surrounded by water. Above all things, Asmodeus is said to fear water and birds because both remind him of
the dead
God.
Robin.
Knowing this, to prepare myself for the battle, I'd want to recite a prayer to Raphael before going in, asking for his protection and assistance. I'd also be looking to arm myself with a pendant of Raphael or some other item bearing his image. It would probably be pretty hard to get my hands on some fish liver on such short notice, but if I could, I'd throw it in an incense burner for good measure, since apparently he doesn't like the smell. Now, since Asmodeus hates water, I'd just fill up the bathtub, hit Henry with some sedatives, and throw him in there. Hopefully, the water would weaken the demon enough that the exorcism would be able to take effect, possibly even driving it out altogether as soon as the boy was submerged. Add some holy water to the mix for good measure, and we should have this demon on the ropes no problem. Since Gabriel
Yeah, that's actually a good call. I think they would have solved that earlier if they tried that firsthand, though. But I guess they were kind of worried about the boy, which really makes you wonder. I do think things would have gone if they knew Asmodeus, like, in the beginning. You know, had more time to research, make sure the family was with them, but yeah, fair enough. Anyway,
knows that the demon is actually after him. I would have also taken a page out of the dead guy in the cage's book and set up some way to restrain myself should things take a turn for the worse. If all else fails, he'll have to let the demon take him in order to set the boy and his family free. This would be the worst possible outcome, but if it came to that, and he had at least planned ahead, Gabriel could still have the hope of the church eventually figuring out a way to save him once backup arrived.
Coming soon to a theater near you, How to Beat's official Patreon. All the guts, all the blood, all the screams, plus nasty extras. How to Beat's Patreon. 2 times the shock, 2 times the terror, 2 times the subscription levels. Have a damn good day, and it only gets better. Both levels bid you welcome to pre-sales for ghoulish official How to Beat merchandise, and support the evil scientists behind the How to Beat videos. It only gets better. Subscribers are invited to the X-rated party. Ad-free and uncensored videos, too repulsive for all audiences, are available on demand. How to Beat's Patreon. In space, no one can hear you scream, but on Patreon, everyone can see you bleed. How to Beat's Patreon. Join us, if you dare.
you know?
Back above
Okay, here we go.
Gabriel removes his necklace and gives it to Tomas before blessing each of them with the armor of God. He warns everyone that the demon will use their sins against them and not to believe everything that they see or hear. They go to Henry's room and
confession, anybody?
rough.
Oh, boy.
The demon starts to taunt them, and Gabriel tells the girls to pray for Henry while he and Tomas begin. Suddenly, he looks up and sees Rosaria standing on the ceiling eating a cardinal, but wards her off, remembering that it's just a trick in his mind. The demon tries the same trick on Tomas, but he beats it too, causing the spirit to roar in rage. Gabriel calls Asmodeus by his name and holds up a crucifix as the whole room starts to shake. The priest continues their prayer, and the boy finally falls down in bed, but the battle isn't over yet. Henry starts to call for his mom in his own voice, and Gabriel tells her to speak to him and help them fight. He lifts up the boy's shirt, revealing the words, God is not here, scratched into his stomach. Behind them, Amy suddenly becomes possessed once again. Her body contorting unnaturally as she crawls across the floor and straight up the wall like a spider. Henry rises up in bed and flings Gabriel against the wall, while Amy tackles her mom through the door in the bathroom and smashes her head into the sink. Tomas runs to help, but the demon lifts him off of his feet, strangling him with his stole. Amy stands over her mother, choking her to death. Realizing that he's out of options, Gabriel tells the demon to let them go and take him instead. Black veins shoot up his arm and take over Gabriel's face. Suddenly, Amy and Henry snap out of it and everything is quiet. Gabriel tells Tomas to take his crucifix and get the family out of here, and they run for the car, leaving him behind as the demonic possession takes over. Gabriel tears down a nearby rope and wraps it around his neck, shouting that he won't let the demon take him before leaping from the balcony, but the demon won't let him do it and flings him into the wall. He runs down into the cave below the church, standing before the friar's corpse and preparing to light himself on fire. Just then, a ray of sunlight shines on the pool of water in the center of the room, and the spirit that looks like the Virgin Mary rises up.
Careful, that might be a demon.
Gabriel kneels before her, but the demon takes over and reveals that it's actually Rosaria back to torture him once again. Tomas comes running to help and finds Gabriel sitting on the throne with the scepter in his hand. He speaks to Tomas in a demonic voice, saying that Gabriel is gone and telling him to just get out of there. Tomas ignores him, speaking to Gabriel and instead telling him to fight back, but he slams his scepter to the ground as the carvings in the stone all around them ignite in flames. Unfazed, Thomas begins to shout a prayer, causing Gabriel to fall back in his seat. He starts to break through, but the demon levitates him to the center of the room as Tomas continues to pray. Suddenly, the demon flings Tomas into an Iron Maiden, and a bloody Adela rises out and approaches him, lifting him into the air with one arm and throwing him into the water. At the last moment, he takes the metal from his neck and holds it to her head, causing the demon to explode in a giant bloody mess. With Adela down, Thomas throws the crucifix to Gabriel, and he holds it to Rosaria's head, casting her into the pool and banishing the demon back to hell as they finish their prayer. Still alive, Gabriel thanks Tomas for his help, and the two of them share a swig of whiskey. Okay,
what?
That was one hell of a final showdown.
But
for a minute there, things were looking pretty bad for Gabriel, but luckily, Tomas came in clutch before it was too late. Tomas managed to save his friend the old-fashioned way and get the good ending. But if things weren't working out, or he just didn't want to go down there and risk his life, there is one other method of beating this thing that comes to mind. From the beginning of the movie, we've seen that the ritual chamber is full of volatile gas. And every time someone lights a fire nearby, it results in a huge explosion. That's why Gabriel pulled out the lighter at the very end. He was gonna blow himself up and take the whole place with him. Now, I'm not sure why the flames coming out of the carvings didn't also set off a big boom, but we'll just have to go with the fact that it was magical
demonic
fire and ignore that for our purposes. If I were out of options, I would have made a Molotov cocktail and thrown it down that well from the garden above, blowing the whole place sky high. Gabriel's body would have been vaporized, and even if Asmodeus wasn't outright defeated, he would have at least been buried again and suffered an enormous setback in his little plan. Then I'd head to the Vatican and report to the Pope what had happened, and let people more qualified than me figure out what to do next. It would be a shame to see Gabriel go out that way, so I'm glad that it didn't come to that. But hey, you've got to look at all your options when it comes to protecting the world from the King of Hell, and it's probably what Gabriel would have wanted if he knew that we had no other choice. With the demon officially slain, it looks like Gabriel and Tomas just became best bros. Super Exorcist bros. Yahoo! And now it's time to head back to report their success, and maybe even get Tomas his own scooter. Sometime later, back at the Vatican, Gabriel and Tomas go to see the Pope. He tells him that he's very proud of them, and Bishop Lumumba arrives to fill them in on what to do next. He tells them that the Vatican purchased the abbey from the family and reconsecrated the soil, while they went back to the US and Henry made a full recovery. The Friar's Journal listed a number of unholy sites around the globe, and with the help of Friar Thomas, Gabriel agrees to seek out and destroy the evil spirits wherever they hide.
But what would you do?
Okay, that's our guy, sorry. Oh, there they go. They managed to defeat Asmodeus, the king of demons, which, I gotta say, they got pretty lucky in the end. I know it's harsh, but come on. If they looked down in that cellar earlier, they probably wouldn't have much trouble. You know? Which, honestly, good call. But anywho, let me know what you guys think, what you would have done with the Pope's Exorcist. And until then, like, subscribe for more. See ya!